Welcome to Conversations with Well Life Inc., your mental health and wellness hub. I'm joined today by Lerato Matsunyane. Her and I, we have walked quite a journey, I think since 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 2014.
Do you want to tell the audience how you and I met? I mean, I still have very, very vivid and fond memories of how we met, you and I.
Mm-hmm. It was 2014, and I think I was in my first year of psychology at UP. I think the first time I'd come to your office to inquire about the difference between psychology and social work, I was quite unclear about that. And I just knocked, at your office. I saw your picture and I was like, you know what, this is the person that I really want to talk to. Luckily, I found you and we had a conversation about that, and I think we just clicked from then. And I thought, you know what, this is the perfect person that, can mentor me throughout this journey of psychology. And fast forward, yes, we went through mentorship, mentee, mentor relationship, got into honors, and then right up until masters, and now we're working together and doing this together.
And I'm so glad that you are my colleague. And that I can call you my colleague, and it's quite a journey. And I saw also your bravery. I think that's also what I want to talk about. Maybe we will talk about it in the next session. Yeah. I remember being an external examiner in one of your classes. Yes. You know which class I'm talking about. Yeah. But I think what I want to also applaud is your bravery. And as I said, maybe one day when you are comfortable for us to speak about what is the bravery that I'm speaking about in terms of the journey. And I'm sure it will also help our viewers as well.
Sure, I'm more than happy to do that.
Yes, thanks Lerato for joining me. And today's conversation, we're talking burnout. I think it's that time of the year. Already mid-year has passed, and I often hear of mid-year fatigue or mid-year burnout. We are into September now, so we're talking changing of seasons and how people then, in the last month, I think it was the last video for August, I spoke about how we need to take stock and just pause and listen to our bodies, listen to our minds, listen to our thoughts and our emotions, because we often don't get that time. No. And maybe, you want to speak about this time particularly and the impact. And I know burnout is not necessarily a DSM diagnosable, disorder, but it impacts on us.
Sure. And I think, just to start off, it's one of the reasons why a lot of people may not take it seriously. They believe that if it's not diagnosed, then it's not a real thing. And especially when people are not sure as to whether they're presenting with depression or not. So it's a thing of, oh, no, it's not depression, it's burnout. Then, it's not so much of a diagnosis or something to be taken seriously. And I think, because we are now, like you said, a change of season, getting into spring now, a lot of people may find themselves feeling very excited about spring, but not really, taking stock on what they've been through throughout the year. It's been a long year. It's been 8 months, and a lot can happen in 8 months, work, school, etc. So I do believe that, as we say, with change of season, there's always certain things that change with self as well. Self, I'd like to say self manifests through seasons as well. So taking care of self and taking stock as to what self has been going through or what self has been doing throughout these 8 months is important. And unfortunately, we do find that people burn out throughout this time of the year because there's been a lot of work invested. There's been a lot of things that people are busy with. Like I said, universities, high school, it's what? Third quarter, absolutely. Second semester. So it's a lot. And as we know, with academics and work, this is almost the final lap, so people push themselves really hard and forget that they've been pushing throughout the year. So definitely, burnout does exist. And I'm sure later on we'll talk about symptoms and stuff like that. Sure. We get into burnout.
It's actually profound what you're saying, and I did not even think of it this way. For our audience to realize that as much as you want to push yourself very hard in this last stretch, so almost like ticking, for those who do vision boards, you want to tick to say, am I near where I was supposed to be, where I said I'm going, but not realizing we have already been pushing ourselves for the past 9 months. That is very, very significant for a person to just realize that they have already been doing something.
You've been doing the work. And I think it's, this perception of being, I don't know if it's a current thing, of really overextending yourself, working hard or hustling, having extra hustles, etc. I think we are now socialized into a society where it's normalized to overstretch yourself. If you're not doing that, then you're not doing enough. You're not invested enough. And a lot of people, unfortunately, do suffer the consequences. You go through a lot by doing more than one thing. We're not saying it's a bad thing. It is absolutely a good thing. But it's also important to take care of self, because self is the one that's doing all the work, and if you're not considerate of that, then it will be to your detriment, unfortunately.
I hear you keep on talking about the self if we're not taking care of the self. There's a notion out there which I often try to demystify in my sessions with my clients. Oftentimes people think that self-care is selfish. Can you unpack that? Yeah, as you are saying, like, I'm sure you get it all the time, where people think that, and as I'm saying, you keep on repeating it to say, you only have self-care, or maybe even self-nourishment, which we can speak about later on. Yeah.
Sure. Definitely. Self-care, self-nourishment is selfish, and it's meant to be selfish. Because if it's not selfish, then it's self-betrayal. Because if you are not prioritizing what self needs, self-care, if you're not nourishing self, then who else is going to do it for you? So it's meant to be selfish, and it's okay to be selfish, for it to be selfish. There's, I don't know, a notion or society frowning upon people that are selfish and caring for self. And I just think that it's an injustice, because it's important for you to prioritize yourself. You hear of people expecting other people to prioritize them, but they can't prioritize themselves. So if you have an expectation for another person to prioritize you, whilst you're not doing that yourself, doesn't make sense. So you first prioritize yourself, and that is you being selfish, and that's okay. Because if you don't do that, no one else is going to do it for you.
I often hear people saying, so-and-so does not think for me. Like in Sotho we say, Mamang hang nahanel. And I often say, well, what the nahanela? They are thinking for themselves, so meaning that you only have yourself to think.
Exactly, to think for. So why are you expecting that person to nahanela you? What are you doing to hui nahanela? It starts with you. Everything starts with you. And I think, we've normalized projecting onto other people, expecting things from other people that we ourselves sometimes are not fulfilling for ourselves. So I think if we start to be responsible for self, from self to self, and, taking things from there, prioritizing yourself, learning to prioritize yourself, learning to self-nourish, to self-fill the cup, fulfill your own needs before you expect other people to do that for you. I think that's the first step. And overall, being selfish it's healthy. Being selfish is healthy for as long as it's grounding you, for as long as it's fulfilling you, your needs, your aspirations, your goals, etc., your mental health, your overall well-being,
Yeah, so I think, people have always connected the selfish with stepping on other people and disregarding other people, being a narcissist, and then that's not about that. Well, I coin it differently in that being self-care. Well, usually I will say it's not equal selfish, because when you are being selfish, you are doing something at the expense of another person.
Yeah.
But I think you explain it much better than what I will do when I'm shying away from the word selfish.
Yeah.
Where people are not realizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And that's why we even speaking about the issue of burnout, because to get to a place of burnout, it means you are so depleted that you don't have anything else to give. And what I've often found, and I want you to speak on this as well, is compassion fatigue. Where you find that a person resent the person that they are taking care of because they have not taken time to move themselves away from the situation to go take care of themselves. I was with my daughters about close to a month ago. We're at a spa. So I had given them a treatment. I was going for another treatment. And they said, "Mommy, but you get more treatment than us." And I said, "But I take care of you." So I'm teaching them, different from the society before us or generation before us, that for me to be able to take care of you, I need to take care of myself. Because if I'm not taking care of myself, when I take care of you, I'm going to be taking care of you from a place of resentment. Of, yes, they are my kids, I brought them, they are my responsibility, full responsibility. But it's going to be like, do you know what I've sacrificed for me to be here? But and I don't want that.
And that exists, by the way. In sorry to interject, that exists in a lot of relationships. You hear people, clients, referring to their parents and on how they tell them about their sacrifices, etc. And yes, stemming from a place of resentment. But when you referring to your question earlier on, as you were talking, I also wanted to comment and say that sometimes the term selfishness and its lack of appreciation by other people, it's for me mostly because of the invalidation. When I want to do something for myself to nourish myself, and I feel strongly about that, it's a thing of you are selfish, but not particularly because I'm selfish. It's because you are invalidating my needs. I have a need to take care of myself. I have a need to do things that fulfill me, to fill my cup. And if you don't understand that, then it's not my problem. But people don't say that. They don't say that I don't understand that. I don't comprehend that. They say that you're selfish. And that is where all the problems, and that is why everybody is scared to be selfish. I
see.
Not because the act itself is wrong, but it's because other people don't understand my needs. And that's okay if people don't understand your needs, but it doesn't make it right that I should not prioritize myself or be selfish about what I need, And then speaking to compassion fatigue as well, I'm exhausted. Think about work, etc. For a person to be exhausted, it's frowned upon. What do you mean you're tired? What do you mean you want time off? Leave. I remember just earlier in one of the institutions I work at, I sought leave. And I said, you know what, I just need to rest, And my boss thought it was something serious. It's like, yeah, it is serious.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, me resting is serious.
It's very serious. I need to rest. And do what? No, just to rest, to recharge, to refill my cup.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much, but that space that you're talking about, I know the space.
Yeah.
Meaning that a person who was supposed to be even understanding of you resting could not even understand.
No.
What more the ordinary person, So it's very interesting, as you're saying, then your need for self-nourishment is frowned upon, or it's met with a misunderstanding. And maybe oftentimes I think we get to a place of burnout because we are not communicating as well. That need, I for one live with my parents, and oftentimes, need to now and then. I've got other people that help. I mean, they help equally, but now and then I have to stretch a little bit more. And there was an incident about a month ago where I said, this weekend is a particular way, is designed a particular way, therefore I cannot be in a position of taking care of one of my parents. And I communicated that forefront to say there must not be an expectation that I will be putting my life on pause in that particular weekend. But oftentimes people are scared to have those conversations because maybe they are scared to be ostracized.
Exactly.
By the society or the community that they find themselves in, thinking that that's what keeps the relationship, them being available all the time and putting themselves, at the back all the time is gonna make them accepted. You wanna talk to that?
Yes. So it's also, I believe, I'd like to associate it with overstretching yourself, if or a thing of commitments. There's different ways we define how we commit to tasks and stuff like that. It's okay to commit, but also okay for you to take a break from your commitments. So I think burnout, one of the reasons burnout does exist is because I'm committed to this thing. I said I will do it and I must see it through. But what we don't realize is sometimes it's okay for you to still be committed. I use this example a lot with parenting. I often, share this with my clients that it's okay for you to take a break from your children, to have time out or away from your children, to recharge. So some parents, for example, may feel that I don't need to do that. And, it's very similar to your example, because I said I will take care of them because they are my children. We're not saying relax or do not take care of them, but recharge. You need to recharge. If you are depleted, if your cup is empty, then you are of no use to that person. Absolutely. We hear a lot of people say, healthy parent, healthy baby, but do you actually realize, or are you actually aware of the amount of work that you need to be doing to be a healthy parent? And part of that is taking time off. So like at work as well, it's okay to take leave, not because of a crisis or family responsibility, but to just take care of yourself, to go on a holiday, to recharge, so that you can be your best self. But a lot of the times we find burnout because it's kind of not allowed. It's not an emergency, it's not a crisis, it's not a family responsibility. So why are you taking leave? It's not serious. Why are you taking leave? You're slacking. You are slacking. So people don't want to slack. And they push even when they can't push anymore. Hence burnout. And a lot of the times we go through burnout without even realizing that we are going through it. And so a lot of the times people wait until they're actually depressed. I've been tired. People complain about fatigue, about inability to
sleeping.
I haven't been sleeping well.
Or when I'm not feeling recharged when I wake up.
I'm unproductive at work. I'm just tired all the time. Very similar to depression. But you know what? We push through. Or let's be strong. I will strong. We just push through. You just be happy that you wake up and this toxic, healthy or toxic mental health well-being. Let's push through. I'm tired, but we are here. We are pushing. There's no point of pushing when you can't push anymore. That is not pushing anymore. That's self-detriment. That's self-destruction. You can't push. Take a break.
Absolutely.
So a lot of us, we push even when we can't push. And because of different things that exist in the working environment, family dynamics, etc. So a lot of us do go through burnout, but a lot of times we don't realize that, because for the sake of pushing we just have 4 more months, we just have 5 more months, and we'll be done. But yeah, you're going through a lot. Take a break and start all over again. It's important to take breaks. And we don't do that. And like I said, it's been 8 months into the year now. So you've been working. We don't see that. You've been working. So it's okay for you to take a break. You are allowed. You've put in the work.
Speak to a entrepreneur. And I know you were in that journey as well for a couple of months. Who says, but Lerato, it's not realistic for me to take a break because when I take a break, there's no income. I spoke about that in the first week of September, speaking about the different seasons an entrepreneur or business owners go through, in our theme of life seasons. And so the entrepreneur is saying, hold on, that is not my reality, because I can't put in leave where when you are an employee, you can put in leave and you can still get paid. I mean, when I get employees who are pushing themselves beyond burnout, beyond fatigue, beyond there's also this other term that I'm looking for, but also beyond depression. I'm like, do you own the company? Like, okay, if you own the company, we can have this conversation. But if you don't, please, and I've got a theory. I think you know it. I spoke about it on Miss Essay with Shudu Fatso about sick leaves and how but anyway. And I've also talked about it in different organizations or different employment places that if you get your client who's got a sick leave from me, a sick note from me, chances are they are very sick. Yes. They are very sick. So let's just say that. So speak to that entrepreneur.
Very interesting, and I was just sharing this with another colleague of mine that, in relation to the leave I mentioned earlier, that it's conflict, why do you take leave? You can't afford to take leave. There's business. Why are you taking leave when there's business, Very challenging. But at the end of the day, you'd hear people say, chelete I fail or something like that, And unfortunately, even as an entrepreneur, it's of course very challenging. You strive with business, because you know what it's like when there's no business. But at the end of the day, you are the tool.
Absolutely.
Especially as a psychologist, especially as a student, a mom, a sibling, etc. You as an entrepreneur, you need to be at your best. And unfortunately, it applies to everyone. Take a break.
Sure.
Whether it's 2 days or a day, just take a break. There will be business. And if you need to take a break for that time when there's business or whatever, you can always put measures in place. If there's business, postpone it for a day or two. Exactly. You need to do that, even as an entrepreneur. And I think, the toxicity around being a business person as well is also about just grinding and working hard, putting in the work, extra hours, etc. You're a human being at the end of the day. Imagine if a whole boss collapses in front of everybody. A whole boss can't get out of bed and can't be at work because they're admitted to a psychiatric institution. And I'm not frowning upon it. I'm speaking about real people that I've encountered. I can't function anymore. I just can't. I don't want to be at work. I don't care about my employees.
Absolutely.
I just don't want to be there. Only because you didn't take a break. So an entrepreneur is not immune. And I am speaking from experience. I thought, what? Business or no business, I am taking this break. It's necessary. It's important.
Somebody's saying, an audience is saying, I have to take care of myself. I've got to take care of things. I've got siblings that I'm taking to school. I've got parents that I'm taking care of. Maybe I'm a community worker. I'm a church member. They are looking for this and that and that and that out of me. It's not possible for me to take a break. Talk to that person and maybe even some of the things that they can start to implement in their own lives to start to establish, a sense of, I won't call it normalcy per se, but a sense of taking control back, because maybe they might feel that they are not in control. Everybody else is in control of their time and demanding of their time. I love speaking about boundaries all the time. But yeah, speak to that person.
I definitely agree. It's an issue of boundaries, definitely. And I think also teaching people how to treat you. If you are
that's
going
important.
to if you're going to be everything to everyone, then you are associating yourself with, Marvel, Superman, or Batman, etc. Because they don't get tired. They're everything to everyone. And I always tell my clients that if you're Superman or Superwoman, no one will check up on you. Who checks up on Superman? No one.
Because they've got superpowers.
You've got superpowers. You've got it all under control. So if you're great and you're doing so well, there's no need for us to check up on you. So if you are everything to everyone, you're unhealthy, or the dynamic is unhealthy, and there needs to be boundaries. You cannot be everything to everyone as a human being, and you need boundaries. So boundaries will look like ensuring that people in your life that you care for are also responsible for themselves.
Absolutely.
I can help you, but you also need to help yourself. You also need to be responsible for you.
But Lerato, I feel guilty about it. I feel guilty about telling them to be responsible because they are depending on me.
Because you taught them. You taught them to be dependent on you. And the same way you taught them to be dependent on you is the same way you can teach them not to be dependent on you. It's all about learning.
You know what I heard one client saying? He says, in times like this, it was a funeral at one of the relatives. I will usually be called, we're contributing this much. She said, this time, I did not contribute a cent. I did not go. By the way, the corpse still went down. The person was still buried.
For some reason.
With or without my help.
So it was magic? No, it wasn't. Boundaries.
Sure.
Boundaries.
Sure.
And I think, like with the term selfishness, it's the invalidation. You cannot make me accountable for taking care of myself. You're my sister, you're supposed to take care of me, or you're my mom. If you don't do that, you're not my mom enough, you're not a sister enough, you're not responsible enough. But what about you? What are you doing to be responsible as a son or as a sibling? If I'm accountable for you or responsible for you, you also need to reciprocate that. Relationships are about reciprocity. And I think a lot of us don't understand that. If I'm doing something for you, you need to be able to give it back to me or yourself. That is why I cannot be everything to everyone. That's the exact reason. So boundaries. If I am doing whatever for you, you need to be able to, if not the same thing, but something else that shows that you're also trying. Because I still have my own life, as your sibling, as your parent. I also have things that I'm busy with, things that I like to do, goals, aspirations, interests, whatever. I'm a human being after all. I'm not Superwoman or man, So at the end of the day, I also need to fill my cup so I can fill into yours. So, and back to the selfishness thing, you need to be able to fill your own cup before you expect other people to do it for you. Boundaries are painful, especially, to people that are not familiar with boundaries. It's very difficult to implement, to establish, and a lot of people get backlash or, they're frowned upon for establishing boundaries, etc. But once implemented, it's the best, but you just need to start somewhere. And if your dynamic with your people is healthy, they will understand, they will empathize that is what you need, that you are taking strain and you need them to help you help them, and you need help in them understanding that you're also a human being. You need them to see you as well, the same way that you see them and are there for them, so they need to reciprocate that reciprocity. So nothing is impossible. You know, you need to teach people how to treat you, you know, and communicate your boundaries, express your needs so that other people know how to maneuver around that. And if you don't know that, other people won't know too. And then at the end of the day, you blame them. Oh, you didn't check up on me. Oh, they demand. But you keep giving when they demand. You don't teach them to not demand as much, or etc., etc. So everything, it's back to self.
Back to self.
Everything falls back to self.
Wow.
You know, not the people around you. So teaching people how to treat you.
Geez, I think we can go on and on with this topic, and I'm hoping our viewers, our listeners, got something for themselves and being able to recognize, as you said, it is progressive. You know, some people might not even recognize that they're burnout, and you spoke about those symptoms of not being able to get out of bed, not being motivated, which are very similar to symptoms of depression. And if not taken care of, if you're not dealing with it, if you're not taking a break, it can lead to depression. Because why? When you are not motivated, then you are not doing well. And when you're not doing well, you become anxious about not performing, which then, you know, it's a whole cycle that happens. So definitely this was a very important conversation for us to have, especially at this time of the year, for people to be able to recognize and see themselves and, you know, just be able to reflect where they are. So thank you so much for joining us. Actually, the backstory of this is a story for another, you know, but yeah, I think I always have backstories, you know, with this thing. So thank you so much, Lerato.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.